Hello, my loves. Welcome to Thought Pain Therapy with Cassandra McAllen. Today, we're going to be continuing our talk on emotions and how they relate to our health. Because we cannot help but embody our emotions. Our minds and our bodies are inescapably connected. Now, for the past 3 weeks, I have been speaking on the importance of forgiveness and how essential it is for true healing. The quote, "Show me a body wherein lies disease, and I will show you a body wherein lies unforgiveness," bears repeating, for it speaks a deep truth. Forgiveness must be found each and every day, both for ourselves and our loved ones. Now, today's talk will be about the necessity of focusing on the power we have with the nature of our thoughts. I wasn't sure how to title it, so I decided on acceptance. As the Buddhists say, we only suffer to the extent of our attachment to outcome, and thus our lack of acceptance. That whether we like it or not, it is what it is. One of the paths towards the signpost of forgiveness is found through acceptance of the belief that all things happen for a reason. While random events can and do affect our lives and outcomes to some extent, the majority of individuals and issues that we face are not accidental and have a reason behind their being in their lives. Now, some pathways of faith believe that we as adults, energetically or spiritually, call these things to us by the thoughts we have and the energy we put out into the creative force of the universe. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, if you want to know what you're thinking, look at your life. Well, this belief is both difficult and freeing. It's difficult because it requires us to take ownership of the situations of our lives. And if we do that, well, then we can no longer claim victimhood. And we must assume some responsibility for co-creation. The universal law of attraction states that like attracts like, meaning that our thoughts attract things similar to them. So as an example, if we believe we are unworthy to receive love, we're likely to attract individuals or relationships that serve to show us exactly what we feel by treating us unkindly or as if we had no value. Now, why, you ask, if we believe we are not lovable, why wouldn't we attract someone to make us feel lovable? Well, the reason is because no one else can make us feel anything. Sadly, no one can make us lovable. They could tell us time and time again. They could endeavor to show us with acts of service and love, but if we're not willing to believe them, then we cannot make the changes necessary within ourselves to allow for that change in belief. So it would make no difference. They could spend their entire lives trying to convince us that we were beautiful and lovable and special, saying it 100 times a day, and it wouldn't make it so in our hearts. We would simply believe that they didn't really know us. And if they did, they would realize that we were no good, or some other similar self-deprecating thought. Thus, if we believe we're unlovable, rather than attract someone to love us as we so deeply desire, we will instead most likely attract someone that will play into the belief to help us shift. Let me give you some stereotypical examples that you might have heard. One is that all men are players. If someone believes that, then it is highly likely that they will attract men that will cheat on them or cause them in some way to distrust their faithfulness. Another you might have heard is that all women are gold diggers. Well, if we believe that, we would likely call to us and be attracted to women who choose us for wealth or status alone and thus further validate our beliefs. Experience is also known as a self-fulfilling prophecy. We tend to get what we expect. For the universal law of like attracts like and the law of manifestation that says that thoughts become things, well, our expectations about a person or situation inevitably affects how we act towards them, which in turn causes our expectations to be realized. So, if we follow this process back towards its origination, it could be said that we attract and even ask psychologically and or energetically for people or situations to show us what we believe in order for us to question the belief in itself. If no one else can make us believe something that goes against our fears of unworthiness, then we have to decide that we're tired of people who play into this belief and we deserve better. Otherwise, we'll simply choose similar situations and people, hoping for different results, leading us to feel stuck in repeating patterns. I mean, have you ever thought to yourself, why does your friend always seem to choose the same person to date? This is why. So, we must move past our childhood traumas and do the work to truly believe that we're worthy. If we don't, we could find our life patterns repeating endlessly in a way that causes us sadness and anger, which, unresolved or released, can even lead to depression or despair. But while this awareness may be frustrating and saddening initially, it's also freeing. It enables us to take responsibility for our own limiting beliefs and thus provides us with the ability to be able to change them and their outcomes in our lives. It frees us from feeling victimized by people and circumstances as we now own our part. It can also inspire and promote the energy of forgiveness, and this is empowering. We can change the energy we put out into the universe to attract what we want instead of what we fear. Which, by the way, if you're someone who likes to write some of the things I say down, I highly recommend making a note for yourself that says, I focus on what I want, not what I fear. And let it remind you to master those thoughts that are leading you to a place that you don't want to go. I like to say to my clients, don't lay down fear pavers for a path that you don't actually want to walk down. I love this quote by Emily Marushian, the author of Energy of Emotion. Energy is the currency of the universe. When we pay attention to something, we buy that experience. So when we allow our consciousness to focus on someone or something that annoys us, we feed it our energy, and it reciprocates the experience of being annoyed. Be selective in your focus because your attention feeds the energy of it and keeps it alive, not just within you, but in the collective consciousness as well. Great quote, right? So, by understanding how the energy of the universe and of our thoughts and of ourselves work, we're now capable of accepting that we've had a hand in attracting situations that we consciously thought we didn't want. Thus, we can take responsibility and in turn release the burden of holding another person solely responsible for our pain. When we believe someone else is the reason for our suffering, then we unknowingly grant them an incredible amount of power. And in the case of those still in our lives, we're granting them power on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis to affect how we feel about ourselves and about our lives in totality. We give them the power to steal our thoughts and turn them towards themselves and to make us believe that we're helpless to heal. sometimes even the power to continue to hurt us, even long after they're gone. This is a terrifying amount of control to give to another person if you think about it. Let me give you another example. Let's say that you feel punished or ill-treated by your boss at work. Well, the pain of that victimization likely doesn't end when you leave your job for the day. It follows you home. It steals the pleasure of your drive. The thoughts and the memories insert themselves during your dinner. They may even shadow the interactions you have with your loved ones with this pall of remembered pain. And in essence, we've lost our freedom. We're now a slave to that boss, even when they're not around to control or hurt us. We could even lay awake at night planning ways to get revenge or crying because we feel helpless by the strength of their control on our personal thoughts. This power, well, we've unknowingly granted, might not even end there. It could affect how we treat our spouse or our children and how we perceive the actions or words of someone else who's innocent in this mental battle we're having. Perhaps if we feel disrespected at work, we begin to see signs of disrespect all around us. Those we've trusted may now seem to have agendas that are not in our best interest. People might be seeming to take advantage of us or make fun of us if we view that through the lens of our distrust, even if they're just being themselves. Thus, before we've even become aware, our life has turned into a constant battle for respect or love. And everywhere we turn, we may see those that we've cared for as attempting to cause us suffering or take advantage of us. We could ruminate and stew over what was said, what was done, our thoughts of their thoughts and intentions. Our very existence is now unknowingly controlled by the one person in our life who we would wish to have the absolute least effect on it. Our pain is complete. They've won. But what if we choose to free ourselves instead? What if we don't become a slave to these thoughts and that these interactions bring us? Now, I don't mean that we ignore or pretend they don't matter. I mean that we ask ourselves firmly, but with love, if it's true. If we are someone who deserves to feel victimized, we must deliberately shift our focus from what another person may be thinking, saying, or doing to what we are thinking, saying, and doing. And by focusing just on ourselves, we can ask honestly if these thoughts or feelings are in accordance with who we believe ourselves to be or wish to become. So I want you to ignore for the moment how they made you feel and ask yourself instead why you feel the way you do. Now, this requires a level of self-knowing and a depth of honesty that can be very difficult at first. But I promise you, the more you practice turning your thoughts away from others and into yourself, the more you will discover and understand yourself. And most importantly, the freer you'll become as a result. At the beginning, you might find this level of self-inquiry extremely difficult. But this is why I invite you to contact me for a free consultation. And hopefully I can help you find your way out of this often self-imposed pain, so you can empower yourself to be free and heal. I'll place a link in the comments for you that connects to me in all the possible ways you might need, because I'm here for you. And I just noticed that we're out of time for today, so I will see you again on Monday at 5:30, where I will talk more along this same level of inquiry. And I want to thank you for joining me today. Before I read and answer the comments, I have an announcement to make that I'm very excited about. I have taken on an apprentice to my practice this year to teach her everything I can about everything I know. So please welcome Delia to my practice if you see her in the comments. And also feel free to reach out to her with questions as well. She's handling a lot of my social media at present and is solely responsible for changing the highly embarrassing thumbnail snapshots that YouTube applies to some really cool professional images that look way better. She also created the Linktree link that I'm going to post in the comments that will connect you to everything I have and every possible way to contact me. So thank you, Delia. And let's go take a look at the comments and see if anybody has any questions for me today. Hello, Desiree. Oh, it's nice to see you, my sister. You like the phrase? I think possibly the one where you choose to think about those things that you want rather than what you fear. It's highly important to helping us reframe some of the self-deprecating thoughts and the ones we have that are fear-based. Like I said, we don't want to lay down this pathway of fear to a place that we don't even want to walk to, because by the time we get there, we turn around and we realize that our thoughts have taken us somewhere that we would never, ever want to be. So focus on what you want, not what you fear. Hello, Susan. Most important and valuable thoughts ever. Thank you more than words. You are very welcome. Randall, well said. Thank you. Desiree, love that too. You said that to me before and it really hits home. It's hugely important. Susan, I will listen to this episode again and again and write it down too. Thank you. You are welcome. Laura, love you. Love your words. I love you too. So nice to see you here. Desiree, thank you. Emily, yay. Laura, very cool. Jill, thank you. Cass, you are so welcome. Maggie, so amazing. She's so lucky and blessed. Eileen, wow. Wonderful to see you. I don't know that I've seen you here before. Thank you so much for joining me. And Maggie has just joined my program. Thank you, Maggie. Janice, welcome and thank you for your wise words. Emily, any thoughts on how to move fear thoughts out of my head? They are so sticky. Why, yes. Let's think. I just put the link tree in there. So if you click on that, Delia made that, it takes you to all my things. So how to move from fear? Well, think again about the fact that when you are thinking these thoughts, that they have the energy that can create things, and really try to master them. Sometimes I use an analogy in my own mind of that kind of wax on, wax off of the Karate Kid. But being that I'm significantly older than most of you on here, instead I would use the term, how about you just swipe left? So every time these thoughts come up that you don't like, just swipe them. And sometimes you have to keep doing that over and over and over again until they stop reoccurring in your mind and you can directly focus on what it is you're trying to create. So as I've mentioned to you before, one of the things that I say to myself when I can hear my mind going down a path that, like you said, is sticky, I pause, I breathe, and I remind myself that things are always working out for me. And whether it is clear or not in this moment does not mean it is not working out for me. So I recommend that each of you take that thought and create some version within yourself that helps remind you that even when it seems bleak, everything is okay and you truly are meant to be happy and to be here. So I hope that helps. Swipe left, a new motto. Yes, exactly. Just swipe those thoughts right out and then think about what you want to create. And another thing, don't worry about how. When we worry about how we're going to create something, it gets us stuck in the weeds. And then we just start thinking about all the reasons why we can't have what we want. So instead, just refocus on how fabulous it'll be when you have it. Because why? Things are always working out for you. Well, I hope that helps. I love you all so much. And as always, until I see you again, take care of yourself for me. Bye.